Welcome to the Mitchell Pehlke Lacrosse Show presented by Duke Cannon. On today's episode, we're diving straight into Notre Dame beating the #1 team for the second straight week. The Syracuse Orange continuing to dominate in the Dome. Ohio State and Big Tasty hanging on to beat Johns Hopkins 7-6. We're bringing on Paul Carcaterra as a co-host and interviewing the potential #1 overall pick's head coach. Long-time listener, second-time caller, ESPN analyst, and Through the X host, Paul Carcaterra joins the show. Bring it up.
Thank you, lads. Thank you.
How does it feel to be back on before we dive right into it?
Good. You know, this is like hanging out with the Goodfellas cast, right?
I like that. I just need a couple more Italians. We'll kind of start there and end there. A little more Italian jokes coming. Stay tuned. Hoagie and I are Big Ten guys, obviously. Convince me that ACC is the best
Coach
conference.
Meyer's going to get mad if we say this?
Paul, convince me, though, that the ACC is the best conference year over year.
Look, I think historically, you'd be hard-pressed to say it's not with all the national championships and the style of play and the level of recruiting that conference does, but it's not overwhelming by any stretch. I think the Ivy League is certainly in the mix, and the Big Ten as well. The issue with the Big Ten is from a national championship perspective, right? Like, who's the team besides Maryland that you could say, like, down the stretch every year is a contender, as opposed to the ACC? Everyone's always talking about Duke and Brennan O'Neill and Andrew McAdory and Virginia and Connor Schellenberger. Like, you just feel like you have equity in these teams in that conference just because of their street cred. But it's like football, guys. I mean, the reality is the SEC was the king of football so much. Now the Big Ten's starting to win national championships. I think you could kind of make that comparison. But at the end of the day, I think the Big Ten just has to step up on the biggest stage outside of Maryland. I mean, that's the truth, right? I mean, you saw some glimpses, and you have an Ohio State that breaks through and goes to a national championship game in 2017. Penn State's been really, really close, haven't gotten over the hump. I certainly think they're a team, though, specifically this year, too. Like, Penn State's the biggest Jekyll and Hyde team in college lacrosse. Like, one day they're the most explosive offense in the country and breaking codes on defenses like Ohio State and just thumping them. And then they win against Princeton, thumping them. And then they disappear in weird games. So long-winded answer, but I think ACC is still the top of college lacrosse. But I don't think it's like a runaway, overwhelming perspective. I think the Ivy League, for what that conference has done, and for the limited resources they have from an athletic department perspective for the sport of lacrosse, it's nothing short of amazing. I mean, that's the reality. Like, that conference, you could say, as these big athletic departments get stronger and put more money and resources in the sport of lacrosse. Here's the Ivy League. They haven't done a renovation in Sholkoff Field in 100 years, right? Like, and there's not even a bathroom in the press box at Yale. They still figure it out, right? I mean, that's the reality. They're able to identify top-level kids who are high academic type of student athletes that want to win at the highest level. So I have a ton of respect for the Ivy League.
How would you rank those three then, real quickly, before Deuce?
This year?
Yeah.
I think
let's go this year. Yeah.
Yeah, this year I think it's easy for me. It's the ACC, it's the Ivy League, and it's the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten has been very, very inconsistent in terms of their play. But the beauty of this year, and I was talking to you guys offline, every year in the last bunch of years, right? Even 2021, off the COVID year, like, you felt like there was like Maryland and Virginia, collision course, kind of everyone else, and then like the storylines just continue to pop, and you have a young phenom in Connor Schellenberger. Everyone kind of gets behind Virginia, and Jared Bernhardt was a Ferrari that year and a runaway Tewaaraton winner. Like, you felt like it was almost like a two-horse race. In 2022, it was a one-horse race. It was the University of Maryland. Historically, they were incredible. 23, I thought Notre Dame was a team of destiny after getting robbed in 22 and not going to the NCAA tournament. Maybe the best team in the country at the end of the year, you could argue, along with Maryland, like the one team that could possibly play with Maryland. So they repeat in 23 and 24 with the same cast of characters. And then all of a sudden, in 25, you have C.J. Kirst. Historically one of the great runs we've ever seen in our lifetime, right? Like, I think when we love the sport of lacrosse, we have a hard time ever right away crowning CJ Kirst and putting him, as one of the all-time greats. I actually saw even like someone did a Mount Rushmore of Cornell, and some people were commenting it like Kirst should even be on it. Like, Kirst historically is one of the great runs we've ever seen in the sport. But like old guys like me sometimes try to go back in history a little bit too much. Like, he's not Mikey Powell, he's not this, he's not that. But like CJ Kirst in Cornell, just unbelievable. 13 seniors last year. He breaks every scoring record possible, regular season, career, and he did it in less games than a lot of the other guys in the top 10. So I think year after year, there's different stories, but the consistency, I think, going back to your first question, like there's always been an ACC team in the race. There hasn't always been a Big Ten outside of Maryland, consistently in the race. And that's goes for the Ivy League too.
Totally. We just need Ohio State to step it up a little bit. And going off that point with the Big Ten, do you think it's more likely that we see another Big Ten team, like non-Maryland wise, win the national championship, or a team like Richmond? Who do you think would win a national championship first?
That's a great question. I don't know. Like, as I get older, I'm comfortable saying I don't know, right? Like, I don't know. I think for this year, like Richmond is kind of a different animal this year. If you look at their roster and you really break it down, they are senior heavy, right? And they got so close last year. You could argue at the end of last year, Richmond was the second best team in the country. And they bring back so many talented guys, right? You got Littlejohn, you got O'Neal, you got Sheridan, right? You have all of these pieces. The two questions we had going into the year on Richmond, could they face off? Could they have goaltending? They've answered both of those. So, like,
right.
I don't think this is like a year-over-year Richmond type question that you're asking me, Dukes. Like, this year, better chance, yes, Richmond. But any other year, I would side with another Big Ten team based on the fact that I think Jeff Tambroni and Penn State have been so close. And they have been to 3 Final Fours since 2019. Like, let's give them their props. It's just like the inconsistency and just the level of trust I have for Penn State this year. And I don't think a Penn State fan could get mad at me. How could you trust a team that loses to Navy and Villanova but beats Princeton? A lot of people think Princeton might be the best team in the country, right? And they have these really, really high highs. They looked incredible against Maryland. And then you go off and you lose these games that, like, you scratch your head. Like, how does that team lose that game?
Yeah, totally agree. I think personally for me, Penn State wise, it's the Tambroni thing, but Chamati, anytime that if he stays at Richmond, I think that they're going to be a wagon. They kind of give me a 2012 Loyola vibe to an extent, just given that, like you said, there's no like clear number one team that like you.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy, Loyola. And I do think Dan Chamati is an amazing coach. And this is why I think there's longevity there. Look at their roster. All those stars that he develops year after year, look who else recruited them. Like, how many of those kids picked Richmond over Duke in North Carolina, right? And some of these really, really blue bloods, traditionally rich, like where all the top recruits go. The answer is like very few to none. And that tells me like he's confident in who he's identifying. Like, he has a system, right? Like, he has a system. And like, I've heard some of the rumblings, like, he's the Kurt Signetti of college lacrosse. Stylistically, no, but I think in identifying talent, yes. Like, that dude, if you were really to put like Dan Chamati on a lie detector test and be like, tell me exactly what you look for in recruiting, like, I think he does it very differently than a lot of coaches out there, like Signetti does. Like, I don't know if you guys read up on Signetti. Like, he's got some what people would think like quirky ways to evaluate, right? Like, he looks at things like you're reading an article and like, this is what he looks at when he's recruiting a wide receiver. It's like, it's not typically what you read.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something to that with Dan Shamati and the level of confidence that he has and who he identifies. And I think it works for that school. Like, people don't understand too. Like, there's no reason Richmond can't be a wagon, as you said. Like, they're fully funded,
okay.
Not at the level now of what teams could be, but from the old fully funded. The old fully funded is 12.6 scholarships. Now, with the new NCAA rules, the roster limits at 48. If you want to fully fund a team at 48, no one's going to do that in college lacrosse. That's a pipe dream. That is never happening in any time soon, like decades, because of the way that revenue share is, how so much money is being allocated to football and basketball. Like, if lacrosse gets to a 48 scholarship type of situation, it's going to be some like uber rich person who just says, you know what, I want my lasting legacy to be school X, Y, or Z is going to win and just steamroll everyone because I'm giving $40 million and I'm going to endow it and I'm going to make sure that this place is fully funded to the day I die. Like, that's the only time it's happening. No school is fully funding college lacrosse at 48. Not happening.
I'm interested, by the way, when you talked about the storylines, like how last year we had CJ Kurz felt like the team of destiny. You called the Cuse game this weekend. Obviously, everyone that's probably listening to this knows that you graduated, you played at Cuse.
Yeah.
Joey Spallina's senior year, it kind of feels like going into the season that felt like the team of destiny, seeing Joey end with the Tewaaraton and a national championship. But they look like a completely different team at the Dome versus on the grass, like we know last week in UNC. Do you trust them to win a big game on the road or on grass? Because
I trust them as much to win as probably 4 or 5 other schools. I think they're in the mix with, Notre Dame and UNC. I think
really,
yeah.
Do you think?
Look what they've done. Look what they've done. Like these teams in these matchups. Like, there's something to be said that Virginia typically does beat Notre Dame, right? Like, Syracuse has given Notre Dame a lot of trouble. Like, even when Notre Dame was incredible a couple years ago, that young Syracuse team took them down to the wire at Arlada. Like, Syracuse matches up well against Notre Dame. Virginia matches up well against Notre Dame. Historically, Duke in the regular season, not so much, right? Specifically a year like now where they're so top-heavy in their offense and they beat you downhill with Sloat and Ben Johnston. Yeah. Notre Dame's really, really good. Like, turn on the tape. Since Kevin Corrigan has had that program at another level, they rarely get beat by, like, alley-dodging, north-south type midfielders who have cannons. Like, they're gonna handcuff Duke, I think, in that game and force them to get the ball behind and figure it out. Syracuse is good because the way that you could beat Notre Dame and Virginia when they had Schellenberger and all those guys, they were good. And when they beat them this year, it's because they jammed the ball inside. Like, if you watch Notre Dame, they're really hard to beat on the perimeter. They don't care about picks. They have very simple rules, and they've mastered it. But you have to find that little seam, and I think Syracuse is confident enough to jam the ball inside. The difference with Syracuse this week and last week is they got the ball behind, and they did it in many different ways, whether it was Finn Thompson being a little bit of a decoy and then a short stick defender while Joey's bringing the ball up goal line extended, just turns his head for a second. That's getting the ball behind. If it's the two-man in the pick game, just even if they're not using it for separation, it just forces the eyes of the defense for just a slight second. Then they could jam it to the backside. So the pick game isn't just for Spallina to free up. The pick game is to get the eyes of the defense on him just for a second, and he can throw that quick lever pass, and he's money like that. So, but do I feel overly confident about Cuse winning the national championship? No, but I put them in a mix with a group of 4 or 5 schools probably.
That's interesting. So you don't have any concern with them away from the Dome? Because we talked about the inconsistencies of Penn State. Like, I feel like I don't know. I personally don't even know what to think of Syracuse. I've had a weird relationship with them the entire year. And the fact that it's going to be at, I keep forgetting UVA Stadium. What's the couple? Scott State. Yeah. Yeah. And that's on grass. So, like, for me, Syracuse, if you're playing the national championship up in Syracuse in the Dome, I'd probably say Syracuse would be my national championship pick. On the grass, I don't even think I have no reason to believe that they'll make it to the national championship.
Well, it also depends on what the matchups are too.
Totally, like, always. Thank you for pointing that out.
But like, if all things are considered equal, that's a valid point. Like, that is a valid point because the track record doesn't suit them well. Playing away from the dome is less of a concern probably than grass.
Okay.
But I think, because look what they did on the road this year. Like, I think this team was really smart getting away from the dome for a while. And they did well on that stretch, man. They lost to Princeton, but they reeled off some good hard wins. Like, they did things this year that Duke didn't. And that's why Duke's in a really tough situation. And the reality is, if Duke's in the field, they can win a national championship. But guess what? No one's going to really feel that sorry for them when the first ACC, Big Ten, or Ivy game was their first conference game of the year against Syracuse 2 weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. And you look at what Syracuse did during that same stretch, going on the road and playing Princeton and playing Penn and figuring a way to be uncomfortable, right? So, like, going on the road is less of a concern with that older of a group, right? Because this is a senior group. Like, I say this all the time. Like, if Syracuse doesn't win a national championship this year, it could be a while. Like, that's the reality. This team is built for this year. Like, they came in as the number 1 rated recruiting class in the country off of the worst year in the modern era. 1975 was the last time they had 4 wins. That was Gary Gates' first year in 2022. That class comes in the next year, gets in the 500, go to the quarterfinals, go to the semifinals. Well, what's the next step? Win a national championship. And everyone talks about Joey Spallina and his legacy. I think Joey's been, you can't argue, one of the most productive players in college lacrosse history. And don't be fooled with people saying, oh, he stacks up all these points against lower competition. There was actually a breakdown, and I could pull it up, where Mike Powell and Joey Spallina played X amount of games. It was like the 40s over their career against top 20 teams, and they had almost the same exact points. Okay? Now the top 20 has changed and all that. My point is, Joey Spallina is one of the most productive players in college lacrosse history. Should we compare him to Mike Powell? No. Mike Powell is the best attackman who's ever played. Should we compare him to Gary Gate? No. Joey Spallina is still searching to become his first team All-American season, right? Like, he's chasing that. He hasn't been a first team All-American yet.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of attackmen in Syracuse, okay, that have been first team All-Americans multiple times. But they also played at a different era, and the cupboard was jam-packed with talent, and it was winning season after winning season. So I think Joey Spallina's legacy is twofold for me. It's his production, which you can't argue, and his winning, which is TBD. If he wins a national championship, I think his legacy goes to another level. Is it going to be comparing to Mike Powell? No. It's not going to happen. You're not even comparing him to Tim Nelson, or you're not going to compare him to John Zilberti. These are guys who are multiple-time first-team All-Americans. Casey Powell. Casey Powell was a 3-time first-team All-American, and he did it in 2 positions, right? Ryan Powell, multiple-time first-team All-American. So it's less about comparing Joey talent-wise to winning. Like, the winning for Joey, if he wins, I'm going to say this. Like, I played and won a national championship with Casey. If Joey wins the national title this year, I think, like, that's a harder task than it was for Casey when he won as a sophomore.
So hold on, I got to jump in real quick here, because I feel like this is what we do in all sports, is we compare athletes across different eras. Like, it's very common in the NFL and the NBA. I think that no matter what, Joey Spallina is going to be compared. I don't know if you're saying you can't compare them, or there is nothing Joey can do to reach that echelon of stars. I want to ask you, is there anything he could do to, at the end of his career, be on your Mount Rushmore of Syracuse stars?
No, and if you clip this, make sure you clip the entire answer. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Guy gets it.
Look, what a disclaimer.
The reason is no, because Mike Powell is a 4-time first-team All-American and a 2-time Tewaaraton winner. Okay, he won the Turnbull Award 4 times as the National Attackman of the Year. How are we comparing Joey to that? Like, that's not fair to Mike. It's not fair to Joey. Gary Gate is the best player of all time, okay? Of all time. I've watched lacrosse for 40 years. I've never seen anything like it. Guy was a complete freak show. If you watch the way he's running on a field in 1989 and his stick skills, it's still the best. That's with technology changing, guys eating differently, weight programs, everything. He still would dominate a field today. It's crazy. Like, watch his highlights. The game of lacrosse looked one way in 1986. Dudes were cradling like this. All of a sudden, 4 years later, it's like 30-yard behind the backs, and it's madness. And then the game changes. And then he fuels the Powells, and the Powells fuel the Thompsons, and the Thompsons fuel the Kavanaughs, and the game looks totally different. And I say this in the women's game, okay? Charlotte North is what Gary Gait was to the men as she is to the women's game. That's the reality. The women's game looked totally different before Charlotte North. Yes, Chloe Humphrey's doing things that no one has ever done statistically, but stylistically and skill-wise, we've seen stuff before that Chloe does. She's just doing it at a way higher accelerated level. We've never seen stuff that Charlotte does. Like, when do you see in the women's game someone shoot 90 miles an hour? Like, the flair and just the way that they hold the stick, it's totally different. So I'm not going to compare Joey to Gary Gait. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it to Gary. I'm not doing it to Joey. And I'm not doing it to Mike Powell. And if you want, I could tell you who some other guys who are on the Mount Rushmore. Like, Tim Nelson's the most disrespected player in the history of Division I lacrosse. Like, Google him, look at his numbers.
I'm going to have to.
One of the top players of all time statistically. He's a 3-time Turnbull Award winner. National Attackman of the Year 3 times. 3 times. Went to Syracuse. Like, he needs to be in discussion with Mount Rushmore. Oh, let's start talking about other midfielders. Todd Curry, 3-time first-team All-American. Okay? At Syracuse. His son Brendan, you guys know.
Yeah.
Absolute legend. Dom Finn and Roy Colsey, 3-time first-team All-Americans. Okay? These guys aren't even making Mount Rushmore. So it's a long line. But Joey can do something, okay? And this is where you're going to loop this whole clip back. So if you take something, you're going to end it with this. Joey can do something that no other Syracuse player did other than Tim Nelson. Take a program that was not where it needed to be, and you could argue rock bottom, okay? They went to like 1 or 2 NCAA tournaments before Tim Nelson arrived in 1983, okay? They had never gone to a national semifinal game. He took them over the hump. Gary Gait, when he arrived at Syracuse, Syracuse was buzzing. They were making Final Four after Final Four. When the Powells came, buzzing, okay? When Mike Lavelle came, yeah, they had an off year, but they were surrounded by buzzing, okay? Joey Spallina came when the program was rock bottom. And if he wins the national championship, you could argue that he took a team to another level that no other Syracuse player has done other than Tim Nelson.
While we're on the topic of Joey, one more question here, and then we can move on from Syracuse and Joey Spallina. But I'm curious, in the here and the now, awesome week to bounce back from a 0-point performance against UNC to score 5 points against Virginia. I used to feel bad for the guy, how many haters he had and how much intense criticism he gets online. But now I'm starting to think that he feeds off it. Do you think that actually makes him a better player, is feeding into the hate he gets?
Yes, I think he's also developed like a thick enough skin to not care, and that takes time, man. Like, no one likes. I don't care who you are, man. I don't care if it's Mitch, if it's Dukes, if it's Kevin, if it's Hoagie. Like, no one likes to read crap about them. Like, you're a loser. You know, you can't get this done. We're sick of you. Shut up. Do that. Like, you hear it. Like, I don't care if you're 50 like me or you're 25 like Mitch. It hits you, but as you get older and you experience, your give a shit level's a lot different. Like, I roll it off. I read it, I think about it for a second, but like, I don't go to bed upset about it. Like, if someone says something about me, I certainly read it, I digest it, but I've moved on, man. Like, way different than when I started off in this business years ago. I used to like stress about it. Like, I'm not making this person happy. And I'm sure, like, you know, we joke about it, but like with Mitch and Hoagie, like, when you talk about Ohio State, I don't care what you say. You have
You think about it.
Coach Myers in
you
your
think
back
about it
of your mind.
You really think about it.
You have Travis. You can't say anything bad about the defense. Dude, I lived it. I know it. But as long as you have respect and you do it in a way that you're not like making it personal, it's okay. Like it's the reality. Like if you can't justify any way, shape, or form that Ohio State has an elite offense. Like there's just no. It's rock fight after rock fight, man.
Awful.
Like it is rock fight after rock fight. Their defense is bringing it. They are bringing it, and Big Tasty has been awesome.
Great.
But the reality is, like, even look at the wins, man. Like they have a stretch of games where like they're not even sniffing 9.
Yeah, they haven't scored double-digit goals since February against Georgetown when they got to 10. So it's been a while.
Yeah, but
and Hobie and I were there on site, so that could have to do something.
Yeah, we might have to get back to a game.
To wrap up your question, I do think he fuels off it. I think he's developed that thicker skin, but I also think he's like a really tough kid and an ultimate competitor. And that's why, like, people think, like, I always side with Joey because of Syracuse bias. It's not that. I side with rooting for him because I know how much he loves the game, the same way that I sided with Connor Schellenberger and like how much the game means to the kid, right? Like, people thought I was crazy. I did a through X with Connor Schellenberger in the beginning of his junior year, and I said he's the greatest player in program history. And people are like, oh, how can you say that, this, that, and the other thing? 2 years later, is anyone saying anything? No, right? Because I know how much the kid loves the game. I know how much he studies it. I know how competitive he is. And I know how he's finding edges, right? Like, Joey has games where he struggles, but he bounces back because I think he self-assesses. I think that he probably sits down with the offensive coordinator. They find ways. Like, this is a matchup this week. Like, you look at the last 2 games Joey faced Schroeder from Virginia, a total of 1 assist in 2 games. And 2 years ago, Syracuse scored 18 goals and won the game, and he didn't have any points. So I know that Joey spent a lot of times dissecting ways to be productive against John Schroeder. And yeah, you could say like he didn't clean break and smoke John Schroeder. He won the matchup. He had 5 points and the team won. Like, there's no way, shape, or form you could tell me he didn't win that matchup.
Paul, I want to flip to Virginia here really quick. I want to ask you, what was the key, do you think, to this little run that they had over the last couple games? And do you think it's kind of something where they can rediscover it and make a run, or has their kind of moment came and gone now?
I think it's capable of popping again. I think a couple things happen. I think if you watch the way they play, they started to feel comfortable with a freshman being like their unquestioned quarterback. That's hard, especially when you have some elite talent around you, and one of them happens to be your older brother too, right? And I think those two started playing like as dual quarterbacks, and that's why I was surprised we didn't see more of it. Like early in the Syracuse game, like I felt like it was Brendan behind and McCabe up top, and you almost had like this 2 quarterback system, and then it kind of just dissolved a little bit. But I think Virginia, the coaching staff, I think the players realized how special Brendan Millen is. Like, Brendan Millen, if you really let him go, I know he's only a freshman. He's probably a top 6 attackman in the country right now. If you took off the names of people and their class in terms of freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, even though Virginia doesn't say that, what do they call first year, second year? People would be hard pressed to say like that's not a top 6 attackman. Like take away history, just look at it in a vacuum of this year. Brendan Millen's an incredible player. So I think they got comfortable with that. I also think getting comfortable with Brendan Millen started to unlock Truett Sutherland more. Like, I think he's one of the most underrated players in college lacrosse, right? Like, I don't think he gets the respect because he doesn't necessarily beat guys one-on-one, but you look at his lacrosse IQ, you look at his accuracy when he gets the ball in tight spots. He's an elite connector of an offense, if that makes sense, because like he's great with spacing. He's a really good finisher. He could dodge off a poor approach. He doesn't bring the ball out and announce to the stadium he's going, but he's a really, really good piece to that. And I think his presence was starting to pop even more with Brendan Millen behind the cage. So I think they have to be comfortable continuing with that. And my only issue with Virginia offensively, it's like they're really top heavy with 4 guys. It's Millen, it's Sunderland, and it's Colsey. After that, it's been very, very inconsistent, where if you look at other teams, Carolina can beat you probably with 7, 8 guys. Like Syracuse can beat you with definitely over 6, especially if like Luke Rowe is playing hot. The other piece to Virginia to finish your your question that you asked me, can they find it again? I think defensively they were exposed a little bit against Syracuse, and they can tighten it up, and it could be something that they have to figure out. But if you look at the Notre Dame win and the Duke win, both of those teams rarely got behind the cage against Virginia when Virginia's heads were spinning. And that's why I thought the pick game was so big for Syracuse. The eyes started like wandering a little bit. And then we saw some of their like off-ball dysfunction that we've seen in recent years kind of pop again. So that is a concern of mine.
I want to ask you really quick, when we're talking about Virginia's depth, Lars had a quote about Joey Terenzi. Manhasset kid who I've kind of been like, for the greater part of his career, like hasn't really shown up. When Virginia started winning ball games, I thought that he was kind of the catalyst for that midfield group. It felt like just Dunkel coming from up top. Why do you think he's not getting more national shine?
Terenzi?
Yeah, I feel like he's been the most productive midfielder for them in their win streak. Obviously, they lost in the Dome, but it's also like Merrick had 3 saves. I could not believe that, by the way. Check the box score of that game.
There's two pieces of that. One, Terenzi has been nicked up a lot. Like we haven't even seen him consistently. Like it's hard to jump on someone in their production when they haven't been available all the time. And I'm a big Joey Terenzi fan. He's tough as nails, that kid. But he's also asked to play a lot of different roles. I think it's just recently that they're putting him more in offensive spot. He's played a lot of short stick D midi in his career.
Yeah.
He's rarely been on 6-on-6 sets consistently until the last bunch of games. So I think it's something new. He had the best game of his career against Duke when he had 3 goals and 2 assists. Mm-hmm. But we just haven't seen that like consistently over time. Like we feel like Virginia has been on a great win streak, but the reality is like they beat Duke for the first time in over 8,000 days. I get that. And they beat Notre Dame. But like if you rewind even like a month ago, they were not playing good lacrosse. They did the Towson game. They were a dumpster fire that game, right? And then they came off that game and they lost to Maryland. So like ultimately, what was it? Was it a 2-week high, or was it you going to give them a 4-week high if you throw in Dartmouth and a couple of others? So like I think we jumped on Virginia, and a lot of the reason we did was because there's so much buzz around what was going wrong with them, and then all of a sudden we saw them figuring it out. So like a turnaround always pops more for people, right? Like you're rock bottom, and then all of a sudden you turn around. And I think it helped that Lars was like so confident in this team, even when they lost to Maryland. Then people started thinking, whoa, he's up to something. Like he said that even in that loss, like they're where they want to be. And like he felt like it was the best thing that ever happened to him. And everyone else is like, including me, like, no way. Like they lost. And this is after a Towson loss. No way. So I think the reality is, with Terenzi and the team for that matter, is like I think the stretch needs to be a little bit more than a couple weeks. And then the Merrick thing, I said this in the game yesterday. I don't know if you guys caught the whole broadcast, but like I've been around the Dome for a long time. A walkthrough for a goalie is really, really important. They rolled up on a charter day of. The women's game went to 4 overtimes. Normally when you roll into the Dome game day, you get to the game 2 hours before, right? And it's after the day before you had a walkthrough. Jake Merrick did not have a walkthrough on Friday. They flew day of. To go into the Dome without a walkthrough in a shorter warm-up period,
wow,
dude, that's tough, man. Like, I've rarely heard of a team flying day of to play Syracuse in the Dome. Like,
that's interesting. We never did that. Why do you think they did that?
We did that once, Mitch. We did that for Rutgers. We flew in.
What's even the strategy behind that?
Save money? I don't know.
I don't know, but a charter costs probably 30, 40 grand easy. So what's another $5 grand?
You're really not.
What's another $5 grand on a hotel if you're spending? Do you know what I mean? Like that, dude. That's like, to me, it's like you buy this really nice suit and you buy the worst shoes and belts.
Yeah, that's
like
that's a weird.
You've gone that far. Just close the deal. But Hoagie, to your point, I think going to Rutgers is different than the Dome. Did you play? What year were you?
I played at the Dome my 5th year when I was at
Manhattan. What year were you when you went to Rutgers? You flew day off.
Oh, that was 2020. That was our sophomore year, Mitch. So 2020, 21.
Where did you play your home games that year at Ohio State?
At the Shoe.
Okay, perfect. The Shoe is a monster outdoor football stadium. Where did you play the Rutgers game?
At the SHI Stadium, Rutgers,
very similar. I know an Ohio State person would be like, the shoe is not similar, but like we're talking like lighting, we're talking natural sky.
The dome
not
is
the
a
biggest
different
change.
animal.
If you were flying from Ohio State to the dome, I'd be saying the same thing. Like the dome's lighting is it's different. You went there and you played there. Like you didn't feel like a different experience.
Oh, I 100% did. It's hotter in there. The air is a little different. The lights are a little different.
The big board, like it's totally different in terms of your sensories. Like,
well, that's what we were talking about, Paul, last week.
Bizarre.
We were talking about the Gary Gay quote, talking about the grass at Carolina kind of having an effect. And I said, I would argue the opposite. I would say Syracuse might have the best home field advantage because you can't replicate the dome. Like, there's nothing like the dome in all of college lacrosse. So, like, these teams who come in there, I guess if you're Virginia, Duke, like you've been there every other year as an ACC team. But if you're an out-of-conference guy like Jake Merrick, who came from Air Force, never been in the dome before, and you don't know what to expect, and you just
not to mention, you're like, you're programmed as an athlete for routine, right? Like, you show up to a game 2 hours before you're at the stadium, right? Then you know the first half hour I could do this, that, and the other thing. There's a women's game going on, 4 overtimes. It's the longest game in Syracuse women's history. Okay, so Jake Merrick's like, wow, like I haven't even been in the dome for a walkthrough. Now my warm up is going to be like, I almost want to give him a pass.
30 minutes,
he had
let's
4
go.
straight games over 50%. He had 3 saves. Like that's a rough day. But like that stuff makes a difference. The only home field that I don't think makes a big difference is Carolina, and the reason why I say that is because everyone slips on that grass, including Owen Duffy. Like, I'll take Owen Duffy on turf any day over Owen Duffy at Dorrance. Watch Owen Duffy at Dorrance, man. Like, he slips. Watch him when where did he play Harvard when he lit them up? He looks like an elite wide receiver coming out of his breaks. I think when you play on that grass is slippery. Klockner's slippery too, but I think like Dorrance is a field that I don't think benefits North Carolina any more than it did if they went on the road and played on grass. And if he could play on the road on turf, they're probably going to say we'd rather play at home, but the reality is he's better on turf.
Sticking with UNC for a second, it's been a decade since that 2016 team. I think it's pretty relevant when we're just talking about Virginia, even a team like Maryland, seeing like an unranked team possibly go to championship weekend. I think those are two teams that could potentially do it. But we love Brady Wambach on this podcast. I've been kind of pushing the Wambach Tewaaraton narrative for the last couple of weeks. Not a great week to continue that narrative. But who do you kind of have as the front runner right now for the Tewaaraton?
I think this is a year where you could say like no clue. Like last year, we all knew Kirsten was going to win this. Right? We knew, we knew in 2021 Bernhardt was winning it at this time, right? Like it would take a lot. Like even in 2016. Like Dylan Malloy was putting up like video game numbers, and his style was like so front facing, where like he made you feel it, right? Like he didn't need like Dylan Malloy. Look, there's so many layers to that. Like Brown probably should have won a national title in 2016. To be honest, if he didn't get hurt, if he wasn't in the Hopkins game late, trying to race for a record, if they just preserved him and he was healthy, like that team was insane. I don't feel like there's that runaway. But the beauty of the Tewaaraton, which is different than the Heisman, like the Heisman, the college football playoff means nothing because it's after the Heisman. This is a year that like it's gonna go to a player that wins a national title. This reminds me of like when Mike Lavelle won it in 2008, right? Like yes, Paul Rabel was playing then, but like Hopkins had a bunch of regular season losses that year. And they ended up playing in the national championship. Like if Hopkins won that game and Rabel had like a Herculean effort in 2008. I think he had 6 goals in that game. If Hopkins won the national championship, he probably would have won the Tewaaraton and not Mike Lavelle. I think it's going to come down to the NCAA tournament. I think it's going to come down to a national championship type of run for a player. Like I don't feel like it's been that type of season. I think Joey Spallina has been a name that's always been in the conversation. Like if Syracuse wins a national championship, game, set, match, like even if his numbers are just okay, like I think he's going to win the Tewaaraton. If Syracuse doesn't, and if they don't go to like a championship weekend, like he's not going to win the Tewaaraton.
Carc, if it is last man standing, right now we know the top 3 teams in the poll are going to be Notre Dame, UNC, and Princeton in some order. Who would be your pick, or who do you trust the most to be that guy on each of those teams?
Well, the guy that I trust the most is the guy that is not going to win the Tewaaraton, and he has no chance. It's Sean Light. Like, Sean Light to me is the ultimate eraser. When have you seen, the only time that, like, production-wise I've seen a player really, really get the best of Sean Light was Spallina in the Dome last year. Like, and he beat him off ball, and, like, the way Pat Marks, their offensive coordinator, used him in that game, like, really put Notre Dame in some tough spots. Sean Light is, I think he's like another level defender. And I think that he's been so good from the jump that, like, we don't say his name enough. Like, the reality is, who's at Sean Light's level? Honestly, at his position. Like, there was a clip going around with Owen Duffy scoring a goal, and I have a ton of respect for Owen Duffy. I think he's so dynamic, and he's a great, great player. But if you watch that game, I mean, Sean Light won that matchup. He didn't win that clip. And even that goal that Duffy scored, it was like an incredible shot. Like, he wasn't even beat. If you watch where Light, like, he got into his body, which is great, turned his hips a little bit, and just for a fraction of a second, he got his hands free. And that was really the only offense that Duffy had the entire game. I just think this is a guy who's been doing this against, like, Connor Schellenberger when he was a freshman. Like, matchup after matchup, this guy has delivered. He's the guy I probably trust the most in the country right now. Like, if you tell me a star on every team, like, you guys go through the teams, right? Pick a guy on every team, and you were to line them all up. Who's the guy that you trust the most? I mean, I'd be hard-pressed to find someone other than Sean Light. Like, if I lined up, let's pick teams. If I lined up all the teams from Ohio State to Penn State, teams in the mix, Syracuse, Cornell, team after team, who's the guy that you trust more than Sean Light for delivering at an elite level every single game?
Then why can't he be Tewaaraton?
I don't have a vote. I don't know. Don't ask me.
I want to, Carc, I want to stay with that really quick. It's the same way,
like, can a defensive back, is Caleb Downs ever... It's a perfect analogy here, guys. You guys watch enough football. You know who Caleb Downs is, right?
Yeah.
Mitch doesn't, but I got you.
Mitch doesn't.
Caleb Downs, I read something that he has not surrendered a touchdown in 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay? He has not been the primary person in coverage to surrender a touchdown in 2 years. If you were to line all the superstars up in college football last year at the top teams, Caleb Downs might be the guy that you're getting elite production from, and you could bet the house on it he's going to have a good game. That's how I feel about Sean Light. Is Caleb Downs going to win the Heisman? No. That's just not the way the world works. Like, Kevin, is it fair? No, but that's not the way it works. A defensive back is not winning the Heisman, and you could say, oh, yeah, but what about Travis Hunter and Charles Woodson? They caught touchdowns, okay? They were a little bit of a cheat code. They let them play offense. They caught enough touchdowns to say it's okay.
Is Wambach enough of a cheat code? Sorry.
No.
So I was gonna.
No, to me, no. No. Right. No, because, like, I think if you're going to win the Tewaaraton at that position, there can't be any questions. He struggled against Notre Dame.
Do you think there was a little bit of the wing play, though, too? I thought that
that's
just
what
watching
Kevin
the game,
Corrigan does. Kevin Corrigan can
totally agree.
He's always double pulled. He's always done
He did that to Baptiste a couple times, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, he used to not recruit face-off guys either, Corrigan. He used to convert guys who were offensive, defensive midfielders to take face-offs.
Kevin Corrigan is, like, at another level as a college lacrosse coach. Like, he's so smart about, like, finding ways to get the ball, right? He's caused me to really want to push. Like, when they carry me off one day, there's a couple things I want to change. Like, I want hockey assists in lacrosse, at least if it's not counted as a point. I want it at least to be registered where people can see it at least. If you don't want to give it to me as a real point, fine. The other thing I want is I want to see face-offs won that resulted into possession. Like, I don't care about a face-off win if you don't possess the ball. Like, and they've been so good at that year after year, where they haven't won the initial face-off, but they won the possession. And they also, when they were going on runs in the middle 2010s, like, they'd find ways to have face-off goals, which is like double whammies. But I think face-off percentage is great and all, but like what's more important is face-offs that result into possession. And Notre Dame's always been great at that, even when they've been a little bit lower statistically.
Paul,
I do think that UNC, though, like for Wambach's case, really quick, that I just want to get out is the amount of, like, if UNC didn't have Wambach, I don't know if they'd be a top 5 team in the country, to be honest. Their offense is so dynamic, but you need to give them the possessions that they need to keep the
Yeah, it's crazy. I was preparing for one of their games just last week, and the shot discrepancy on average was 21 per game. 21 more shots per game. Second in the country in time of possession. You get 21 extra shots, that should be 70 goals because you average about 30% as a shooting team in college lacrosse. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
And I wanted to ask you really quick with the draft coming up and everything, the way you talked about Sean Light, I think I'm agreeing with you. Would you take him number 1 this year?
I think it depends. Like if I'm the Archers, no, because the Archers have gotten really old offensively.
Would he be the best player in the draft, though, in your opinion, if he was in this year?
Yes. I think he's a generational defender. I think he could start on Team USA right now. I think he'd be an all-pro.
Fire quote. That's good.
I think he'd be a PLL first team all-pro. Yeah, I do.
Carc, you said that quote right there, and I was like, Kev's social media brand that's like quote card. Team USA.
Instantly.
That's crazy. That is high praise. And
anyone want to throw a challenge flag?
No. I think that Aiden McGuire is the best short stick D-Midi, but I completely agree.
Aiden McGuire and Sean Light, and why I would take Sean Light number 1 and not Aiden McGuire. Because in a game, you have the ultimate eraser. In every game, you're playing Owen Duffy or Joey Spallina or McCabe Millen. You have that guy. You don't go into a game when you have Duke, be like, we have Aiden McGuire. We're shutting down McCabe Millen, or we're shutting down. He doesn't. Yeah. He can be avoided in a game with your offense still running its normal system. Sean Light cannot be avoided in a game if you run the ball through X or you have an alpha that you feel like you have to feed. You can ignore Aiden McGuire in a game if you wanted to. You could. You can't ignore Sean Light if you have a guy. Like, if you have a guy and your offense goes through him, like, if you're Cornell and you're telling me, like, Ryan Goldstein isn't going to be a factor today, like, you're worried, aren't you?
Yeah.
If it's like a midfielder that the ball doesn't go through, you're not as worried. Like, you'll find ways. You can ignore Aiden McGuire, and I'm not ignoring his talent. He's a freak.
Right.
That guy could score 25, 30 goals easily as an offensive midi. Guy shoots like 100 miles an hour on the run. Like, he's an animal.
So does Mitch.
I would love to have him on my team, but I just don't think his value isn't as high as a Sean Light, because every team has an alpha that needs the ball. Like the Philly Water Dogs need to find ways to get Michael Sowers the ball, right? But if Sean Light can cover him, then they have to go to option B, right? Like, if for some reason, like, just if you think Connor Kelly is the engine of the midfield for the Water Dogs, and you want to put Aiden McGuire on him, you feel like your offense is completely blown up now?
No, I think the Aiden McGuire thing, though, that interests me is more so how valuable I think short stick D-middies are in the PLL and the short field and his speed and the way that he can create offense after the saves. We know about when you have the clean save percentage in the PLL and you have those easy outlets to someone like Aiden McGuire with that athleticism, I'm like, that's generating offense too. So that's the one. Yeah. That's the one time.
I would draft him in the top 5 for sure.
Right. We're splitting hairs at this point.
The last time I've had a short stick D-midi in that level in my mind, like he's the best short stick D-midi prospect in a long time, but I just wouldn't take him over Sean Light.
Would he start? That's my last question. Would he start for Team USA?
Aiden McGuire?
Yeah.
Yes, I think he could. He'd be in the rotation. He'd be He'd be with your old teammate Tarafenko, that animal, Danny Logan. Yeah, he'd be one of those 4 guys that you roll out. Yes. Cool. He's too athletic, too strong, and actually he's really good with the ball to ignore him. Mm-hmm. You just can't. Yes, he could play Team USA and make that team. And honestly, I'd be shocked if he doesn't. I would think that Aiden McGuire would be insane in 6s too.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Like he's perfect for 6s, that guy.
Yeah.
Paul, I'm a big believer of scheduling tough and loading your schedule. I think that's what you have to do in our sport. I think unlike college football where you can have a great record and be a blue blood and you get in without playing anyone, that's not how it works in our sport, right? You have to have wins. You have to have great metrics. I've been very critical all year of Duke's out-of-conference schedule. I think it's a travesty given their track record of playing tough opponents year after year. And now you see they start 8-0, and then the 3 real teams they've played to this point, they're 0-3. Why do you think Duke scheduled the way they did in 2026, and do you think they're going to ultimately regret that on Selection Sunday?
I mean, they're definitely going to regret it because if they don't win these next 2 games, they're toast. Like there's no possible way. You could argue even if they win only 1 game, it's not going to be enough because of all the tiebreakers that don't go their way. Like they would love to continue their season and go to the ACC tournament. If they don't win 2, they're on the back end of all the tiebreakers, so they won't get in with 1, and then they won't be able to get another win in the ACC tournament. So they need 2 wins. Like there's just no 2 ways about it. The bubble isn't really, really big this year. Like you have the 10 AQs, you have the 8 at-large. The 8 at-large are pretty easy. 4 ACCs, right? If Duke doesn't go to the ACC tournament, okay, they're gone. I think then you're looking at 4 more spots. I think there'll be 2 extra Ivies, and I think there'll be 2 extra Big Tens. That's the bubble. The only drama here in my mind is if Richmond loses and there's a bid stealer out there. So Duke is only getting in if they find a way to get to the ACC tournament. The only way they're getting to the ACC tournament is if they win 2 games. They have to win 2 games. And if they win 1, they have no shot because even if there was another team with one win in conference, they're not going to have the tiebreakers already. Like they have losses to Syracuse and Virginia. Duke's in trouble. I will say this. Yes, their schedule should be questioned. This is a team that is, has aspirations every year to win a national title, to go to championship weekend. The reality is no one's going to feel bad for them if they don't make the tournament. But the crazy part, and I said it earlier, if they make the tournament, would you be overly shocked if Duke found a way to win a national title? Would you be overly shocked?
No.
Overly shocked.
I think that I mean
this year. Like if this
I think
team
the
had to play
defense is great.
Maryland that I was talking about in 2022 or the Notre Dame's, like look, they lost by 1 goal in the Dome. We talk about Cuse being so great in the Dome. Like Duke lost by 1 goal. They lost by 1 goal. This team has real defense. Real defense. Like their close defense is legit. They have McGuire. I think offensively they become a little bit predictable. You've probably seen the stats flying around, like how dependent they are on the 2 guys, Sloat and Johnston. Yeah. That's real heavy. I don't love that, but like that's a team I would not want to play in the tournament. But I also no one's going to feel bad that they don't make it in. I think what happened to them was they had guaranteed like Ivy games. That remember that Ivy weekend? Like Syracuse basically took that Ivy weekend from them, right? Like when you go on the road or you have them home, it's always like it's like the non-official ACC Ivy weekend, right? This year it was Penn and Princeton, Syracuse and North Carolina. Like Duke used to live in that world. I don't know what happened, but not living in that world was not a good situation for them. Because would anyone be questioning Duke as much if in March they played Penn and Princeton?
No.
I thought you have every right to question them now.
I thought this was interesting, and I found a lacrosse reference, which I like. I love this time of year just with all the different scenarios. A win versus UNC and a loss to Notre Dame, and then they get like eliminated in the ACC tournament or whatever. They have a 54% chance to make the tournament. Just with the win versus Notre Dame and a loss to UNC, it goes up to 76%, which I thought that was crazy. That two ACC wins, you're locked.
This is where I throw the challenge flag on that, though, because if they got in with, well, you're saying they could get in still with one win and not going to the ACC
That's what
tournament.
Lacrosse Reference is saying.
Okay,
yes.
but here's my question then. You're going to put them over like over Virginia who beat them head to head and made it to the ACC tournament? Because I don't see a scenario where the ACC is getting 5 teams. Because do you see a scenario where the Ivy or the Big Ten only get one other team in their conference?
I think there is potential. I don't
for
think
Big
it's gonna
Ten, not Ivy.
For Big Ten, there's a very big potential, in my opinion. If Maryland loses this weekend, that Big Ten could be a 1-bid league.
Yeah, I mean,
but that would have to be the scenario where Hopkins is the bid right now, and they win the Big Ten tournament, which I don't see happening.
Yeah, I just feel like
there is
in a year where the 5th ACC team isn't like a gangbuster. Like I just, to me. I know, okay, 54%, but my mind's saying, my mind's saying no way. Like, because you guys really think?
No way.
Do you think a one-win team in the ACC that doesn't make the ACC tournament and played 0 Big Ten or Ivy teams and didn't play one of the, we'll call it 3 major conference teams until their first conference game against Syracuse makes the tournament? Like,
no. I would say no. Duke would say yes because Duke loves the ACC. So I think Duke's. You said that.
Ohio State's played like St. Mary of the Poor as well.
Ohio State has a better resume than Duke does.
Not really. In this
yes,
scenario,
they do.
If
Duke's best win is St. Joe's. Ohio State's beaten Johns Hopkins, Georgetown, Denver.
Hold on, James.
Same record.
I'm saying if Duke beats Notre Dame, and that's their one ACC win, that's one of the best wins in the country.
Of course.
Nobody else has a win like that. And they have no bad losses. That's
but Ohio
why
State doesn't have any bad losses either. I'm not here fighting for Ohio State. I just think to have Duke get into the NCAA tournament to me,
Penn State's potentially
with just
not a tournament
hanging one win against Notre Dame to me, I think would be a travesty.
I also think it sets terrible precedent. If they win 2
this year, this year would be crazy.
If they win 2, and the tiebreakers don't go in their way, and they don't go to the ACC tournament, like. I'm okay with Duke going into the
100% agree, Carc.
I'm okay with that. I have no problem.
It's the one
if
that
they
gets
win
me.
one and they don't go into the ACC tournament, that's just terrible precedent too. Like, what does that tell the lacrosse world in terms of scheduling?
Well, this is where the percentages get like. I don't think they can factor in the chaos agents like a Yale getting hot right now or a Michigan getting hot right now. If Duke's not playing in their conference tournament and these teams are, it's an out of sight, out of mind thing. That's where the committee should look past RPI, in my opinion, and do the eye test a little bit more. Like Duke, if they're not making their conference tournament, they shouldn't be in the NCAA tournament.
No, and you're precisely right, Kevin, because the reality is this. The RPI wasn't made for lacrosse. It originally was made for basketball when there's how many Division I schools are in basketball?
Over 300, yeah.
Okay, over 300. It's not meant for college lacrosse. It's not. Like college lacrosse, you just go on a very simple type of system, like strength of schedule, top 10 wins, or if you want to go top 5, top 10, top 20 wins, like it's not rocket science here. Everyone can play each other in lacrosse. Like you guys are even mentioning, like it's not college football. It's not. It's not basketball either, with the sample size being massive where you play 40 games, right? Like national championship teams in basketball have 37 wins. Like this isn't meant for college lacrosse. Like college lacrosse, you just make it pretty easy. Like strength of schedule, top 5 wins, top 10 wins, top 20 wins, categorize them like that. If you really want to get into eye tests, have a small committee as well, like college football does, where like people who watch tape actually have some kind of say in this.
I don't think, by the way, for the record, for the people at home, that Duke beats Notre Dame. I want to get that out. I do.
That game's at Duke, isn't it?
It's at Duke.
Yeah.
It's at Duke.
I do believe
Carc.
I do believe that if they win that game and their only losses in the regular season are to teams all in the field, I think that's a lot of people would be like, okay, and if they weren't like the 5th team in the ACC, I think that's better than the 3rd team in the Big Ten getting in.
That's insane to me.
I'm done with Ohio State, James.
I'm not arguing for Ohio State's I'm not arguing for Ohio State's process. The third team in the Big Ten could be Penn State. It could be Johns Hopkins. But I agree with Paul on the
Penn
on the
State's
precedent.
had worse losses though. They've
but
lost
they have
to 3.
multiple amazing wins. Like, would Duke have those losses? Duke didn't play anyone to have any bad losses. Dukes. All they've done is beaten everyone they should and lost to everyone who is relevant. That's just a fact.
My last point, James, is that you're saying that Duke didn't have the opportunity to have those bad losses. They literally did. We've just been talking about how bad their schedule was. Thank you.
No, but they didn't play top teams to have those bad losses. If you're Duke, you should be beating Jacksonville, Utah, St. Joe's. They didn't play like
right.
The
Penn
team.
Penn State has three losses that are outside the top 20 RPI.
I guess Villanova, yes, but I wouldn't count Michigan in the same level as like a Utah loss. Or maybe it is RPI wise, but Michigan's a different level team. That's a Big Ten level team compared to some of those other wins. To me, we're going to hit mid-April at this point, and Duke's best win is St. Joe's. No disrespect to St. Joe's. But to tell me that they just get one win against Notre Dame in a 60-minute game next week, and that should be enough to get them into the tournament, to me, like Carc said, I think sets a bad precedent for how we should move forward with scheduling. And I think it shows
Big Ten shouldn't have shat the bed either, to be fair.
I mean, I will tell you this. Let's give some love to Ohio State and the Buckeye boys here. I'm not saying
I can't. This podcast I can't.
Hear me out, though, dudes. Hear me out. I know, stretch of the imagination. I'm like saying let's ride the Buckeye train here, but they have a team and the way that they're built that I don't think anyone would feel comfortable playing them. Look what they did to Notre Dame. Even Notre Dame. Everyone thinks Notre Dame now. Last week it's Carolina. Now Notre Dame's the best. Okay,
yeah.
Watch that game. Notre Dame had a tough time in that game against Ohio State. Ohio State has a defense, and they have a dude named the Big Tasty that can erase a team. Do they have enough offense to win 4 games? I don't think so. You have to figure out, at some point in time, you have to win scoring goals. But on a one-off game, man, I don't want to play Ohio State in the tournament. I want nothing to do with that Big Tasty guy. And I want nothing to do with that defense. Even with Bobby Van Buren down, they got, they're shorties, that Elon guy, and they have guys all over the field. That Cullen Brown guy, I'm sure he's devastated that Bobby Van Buren got injured, but he's now morphed into a legit number 1 cover guy. You don't want to play that team. I know you don't want to watch a rock fight, but you don't want to play that team.
Yeah, I think
I like the rock fights.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's a team that we've talked about. They can keep you. They're going to be in any game they play almost just because the defense is so good. The problem is they can't get to scoring enough, which I've been on record saying this, Paul. I don't think they can win a national championship because you can't win a national championship.
No, in 4 games,
May,
you
scoring
have to
7 or 8 goals. That's just the truth.
You have to score goals.
You have to score goals. You have to get into the 12, 13, 14 if you want to make a run.
But in a one-off, you could steal a game easy.
100%. But to go on the run, that's a different beast. But we talk about the Big Ten as a whole, Paul. We talked about Penn State's inconsistency. They're the team, in my opinion, that on their best day, they're the best team in the Big Ten, team that can make the deepest run, be the most explosive. But obviously Maryland now has kind of gotten better and better as the season's going on. They're starting to roll now. They're in first place in the Big Ten. They beat Hopkins. They're going to clinch the 1 seed and clinch outright Big Ten regular season championship. It's a team I've kind of been high on. I've never fallen off their wagon just because of John Tillman and kind of what they are year after year. Who do you think the top team is in the Big Ten right now? You think it's Maryland?
I trust Maryland the most. I think Penn State has the most potential, though. Right? Penn State's a team. I feel like if they're clicking offensively, they have some pieces, man. They move the ball. Have you guys watched this freshman, Iantuano? That kid's
stud.
That kid's excellent.
Legit.
That kid's excellent. Layman, obviously the health of the big guy. Aquino has been, a big topic over the season. And, you could argue there's been some stretches when he hasn't been in there, they put up even bigger numbers. But I think that team has the most potential. But what's potential doesn't mean anything. I don't trust them like I trust John Tillman. John Tillman has proven to me too many times with a week of preparation he could beat anyone. What did he hold Brennan O'Neill in that team? Dyson Williams, Brennan O'Neill, Andrew McAdory. I did that game at Humphrey. What was the final score? 8-6 or something?
Yeah, that was the famous game when he put
O'Neill's
Ajax
last game
on Dyson and he switched up the matchup.
No, he put Ajax on Zawada.
Oh, that's what it was. Sorry.
Because he knew that the ball,
point one.
The way that offense operated, he wanted Zawada out of the mix. Like he was the head of the snake in terms of the ball flow. He wasn't Brennan O'Neill, but like for Brennan O'Neill to be Brennan O'Neill, Zawada had to get involved in ball transfer. So it was a genius move. So he's holding that kind of a team to 6-7 goals. I don't know the score off the top of my head. Every time he has a week to prepare, it's very, very dangerous. I also think he's masterful at not showing his cards all in the regular season too. Like he makes those kind of tweaks. Like he didn't do that in the regular season with Ajax. Like Ajax was getting like top matchups kind of regardless. You know what I mean? Depending on there could have been an outlier or two, but like everyone would have just thought like, oh, you have Ajax, he's going to win a defenseman of the year. Of course you're going to put him on O'Neill. Like I just think John Tillman is too good. The reason why Maryland doesn't have like 5 or 6 national championships, like the sport's kind of crazy where the biggest game of the year is like, chew on this for a second, guys. The biggest game of the year has a turnaround of 48 hours, but coaches and programs refuse to play midweek games once conference play starts. Like, think about that.
Yes.
Right?
No, it's crazy.
Like, no way. We're not pushing back the season because I'm not playing a midweek game when one's conference play. But the national championship is on 48 hours rest. Like, if the national championship was on a week's rest, you know how many more titles Maryland would get?
Yeah.
It's 48 hours only if you're not playing first.
Yes. And
Maryland's always playing
second. He's a wonderful person on top of being a great coach. The amount of times that he gets the second game, I think it's like every one but one in the history of him coaching at Maryland. It's like, death, taxes, and Maryland playing the second game.
Yeah, totally. I also think what's fascinating about that Ajax, really quick, just reminiscing a bit, Ajax, he got so much credit, right, for Ajax going on Zawada, and we saw last year, Corrigan tried to do the same thing where he put Sean Light, I think, on Lehman instead of Matt Trainer, and Matt Trainer obviously went off, and it led to me podcasting.
Yeah, that was questioned. Yeah, because,
and exactly, it's just how risky it is in those situations, both quarterfinal games.
I think it was less that was less questioned, Dukes, than why didn't he switch him when it wasn't going well. Like, I don't think anyone questioned, like, at the opening face, Sean Light's going to go on Lehman because he's more of like the quarterback and he's at
totally.
X. I think people question, like, after Trainer's 4th goal.
Yes, okay.
Let's make the switch. I think that was the big question, rightfully so. But look, man, he treated that the same way he treats picks. He doesn't care, and you can't argue his track record. Notre Dame does not care. Like, if they're in a position, like, they have rules. Everyone thinks like Notre Dame switches every time. Notre Dame doesn't switch every time, but they're masterful at communicating. Like, if they need to switch, they'll switch. If they don't need to switch, they don't switch. And they're not changing.
Let's talk about something big that's actually coming out this week. On Thursday, the First Through X episode of the 2026 season goes live on the TLN YouTube channel. Kev, your boy, Silas Richmond, obviously, Carc, you were on site. What about Silas's game do you think that's going to help him succeed as a pro?
I've been on the Silas Richmond bandwagon for a while. I watched him play his freshman year, and I'm really close with Scott Marr. I grew up in the same town, Yorktown, New York. His younger brother, Dave, is one of my best friends growing up, so I've always had a connection with Scott, and he's always given me a beat on, like, certain players, and he's got an amazing track record, Scott, in terms of sending players into the pros, right? Whether it was the Thompsons or Blaze Reardon, Connor Fields, Troy Ray. Like, he knows something about a style that works with the PLL, because if you watch Scott Marr's practices, like, there's a lot of freelance, there's a lot of improv, there's instincts that are required, but there's also structure. And I think, like, people don't think of it that way. They think of him just kind of rolling the ball out. Like, that team is a lot of fun to watch practice. So Silas, I've been on that beat for a while. And the more I watched him, like, his game really, really has evolved these last few years. Like, I thought he was more of just a goal scorer early in his career. And, like, I've got some clips of this guy. Like, his passing is next level. He's 6'4". He's a big body. He's super creative, but he could throw, like, through passes that really work in the PLL too. So I think his game is tailor-made for the PLL. Like if I'm certain teams and I want like a right wing guy that could do 3 or 4 different things, like I'm all over Silas Richmond. And here's the other piece of it too. Like I think when you play in the PLL, the love for the game has to be so strong for you to continue to chase pro lacrosse that it's your priority. And I've asked Silas multiple times, like what he wants to do after college. Like there's no plan B. It's strictly lacrosse. It's lacrosse. It's lacrosse, lacrosse. Like he loves this game so much. Like you can't put that into context enough. Like when you've been a player your entire life and your only dreams are to play pro lacrosse, like I'm betting on that guy. Like it just means too much for him. I think he's going to be a 10-year pro, and being on the field with him and spending time with him and talking about the game and the love that he has for the game, but also like his perspective on the game and watching him practice and watching him lead. He's the nicest young man, but he has a competitive fire. Like he's the pulse of that Albany team. I hope the nation from a lacrosse perspective gets to watch him at least for a game or two in the NCAA tournament, because this kid's dynamic. He really, really is. Like I think he's a lock to be a great pro.
Yeah, Carc, I'm a huge
not an investment banker, so you better know that before Tuesday. That's a big no.
I'm a huge Silas Richmond fan, have been for a while now too, and I think he should be in more of the Tewaaraton conversation just from a straight up skill. I think he should be one of the 5 guys invited there. I don't know if he's going to win for the same reasons we talked about earlier in the show, but one of my pieces for him to kind of get that Tewaaraton love, and I know this is kind of separate, but I think he has to go number 1 overall in the draft. Do you think there's a chance he could go number 1?
Yes, and the reason I think he could go 1 is Chris Bates over the years, and the Archers have the first pick, like doesn't traditionally go in line with a lot of people think, right? I mean, he has some. He drafted short stick D middies early in the draft that I questioned. He drafted Mason Woodward early in a draft, like before people thought like he was in that conversation. I don't think Chris Bates cares. I think Chris Bates needs offense, and I think Silas Richmond is a guy at 6'4" that could take a pounding. He's also a really, really good passer. You could put him in the 2-man game. He could stretch the defense with his outside shot. Like, if you spent the full day with him, I was with him from 8 in the morning to 5 at night, and we watch film. We do everything. And we're on the field, and I'm at his practice. I'm seeing the way that he interacts with his teammates. Like, there's really no flaws to his game. Like, I think that he's about as pro-ready as possible. I think that he is a top 5 player in the country. I think he should be a Tewaaraton finalist. Albany would have to win a playoff game too, I think, to get into that mix, which doesn't sound right when you think about it, but that's just the reality of the award. But he's something else. He's super, super creative too. Like I think for me, talking to him and like him bringing up like older players and how he watched so much on YouTube in terms of highlights. His whole, like, he's a bona fide lax rat. Like when I first told him that I was coming up to do a through X, like it was like kind of surreal for the kid. Like he's like, are you serious? Like and to me, like it is awesome. And I pick who I'm doing it with. Like it's not like people are like, you need to do Silas Richmond. Like, this is a franchise that I've been a massive part. Like, obviously, I talk to people and internally the group, with B-Rob and Danny and all these guys are incredible. And Alex Poole at TLN, these guys are incredible lacrosse minds. But like, I have to feel really invested in who I want. I have to feel the passion to want to go up to Albany and do it. And like, he was on my list from the jump. Like, and this is before the season started. This is like, B-Rob will ask me, almost a year in advance, like, who you thinking? And like, he was the guy even before this season, because I've been a huge advocate of his game. But I also think like he's a neat story, and every through X has a different story. Like for me, like when it was the Kavanaughs, it was chasing the first title for Notre Dame, right? Like Connor Schellenberger being the best player in Virginia lacrosse history. Silas Richmond's through X story, like big picture, it's not about being better than Lyle Thompson. It's about chasing a pro dream. Like, and I think that's like the first time that that's been that bucket. And to me, like, yeah, that's the narrative. And that was my focus. There's pieces within that focus where Albany is a program that gets players ready. And this is an under the radar guy that he was committed to Bellarmine. And that was the only offer he had, Bellarmine. And then Albany came swooping in late. Like, no one wanted this kid. Like, he was a 5'7", underdeveloped box kid who lived in the rink and never put his stick down. And his parents kept on pushing him and saying, "You can do this. You can do this." Like, it's really cool. And here he is. Like, when he gets drafted, to me, hearing his name will hit different because I know his story, and he hasn't been the chosen one. You know, but he might end up being better than a lot of the ones that we've just hyped up for so long.
Kev, I'm sorry. I'm now a fan of Silas Richmond even more. I've always liked his. That's
Dropping Thursday on TLN YouTube.
Yep. That's awesome. Carc, obviously draft coming up. It's the question everyone's been asking since September. Joe Spallina, Trader Joe. He's sitting with the 6th pick in the first round. If you're Chris Bates, Trader Joe calls. What would you want from the Redwoods to trade them that number 1 pick?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think.
And do you think they're going to do it in general?
I don't think Joe Spallina has enough like pieces. Like he's not getting rid of Andrew McAdory. Like the only way this works, like if I was the Archers, the power of a father and son, like you can really go after Joe Spallina and ask for a lot. Like,
you can get a lot, Carc.
You can get a lot. Like
you can probably get a call.
I have a daughter who plays, and if I had a choice, like to coach her or not to coach her, and I'm coaching, like there's no other option here. Like I'm not going on a field every weekend in the summer and watching someone else's kid play when I could be with my kid. Do you know what I mean? Like that's there's power in that. So like. I think if I'm Chris Bates, I ask for like Chris Kavanaugh, right? I ask for in return. I also get your first round pick as well, where you were slated later in the draft. And honestly, I would go so heavy going after 27 picks because the reality is this draft is not as deep as next year. Like next year's draft is crazy. Think about guys you know that could play pro, right? We only have probably like maybe 8 offensive guys that we feel really, really comfortable like can break into a roster, right? Next year, the list is crazy. It's like it's Owen Duffy, it's Petramala, it's McCabe Millen, it's Willem Firth, it's Nate Kabiri, it's Ryan Goldstein. Like the list goes on and on. Oh, and guess what? Right. The best 2 defenders from this year are going to be in next year's draft. Bobby Van Buren, Will Schaller, like the Big Tasty. I want 27 capital. I want 27 capital so bad that like I'm willing to get rid of picks and stuff for next year. So like if I'm Bates, I want Chris Kavanaugh, I want your first round pick, and I want something from 27.
Is that your minimum, Carc? Like that's the minimum. Like that's what you would take. Like could you ask for more? Like baseline, what's the lowest deal you would do?
What more? If he's not going to get rid of Andrew McAdory, like who on that roster?
I guess I'd flip the reverse. What do you think Joe would actually be willing to give up, Paul? Like the most he'd be willing to actually give up to get to 1?
I think if you were to ask him now, and I've not had this conversation with him. Okay, I want to preface that I've not had this conversation with him. Yeah, exactly. But I think. The longer you make dad wait, the more you can get, right? Because when reality totally hits 24/7, like I'm Chris Bates, and just like let him sweat, let him sweat, let him sweat, let him sweat. Because the reality is, the closer it gets to the draft, the more the reality will hit him. What if Joey's not going to be with me? Like, and I get it as a parent. I get it. Like, are any of you guys parents?
Not yet. Nah. I hope not.
Well, call me call me in 10, 15, 20 years. Like, there's power. Like, there's power. Like,
yeah.
I have a daughter who plays, and like, I couldn't imagine going somewhere and she's playing and I'm on the different field. Like yeah. Coaching against her. Like, no. And you know, they have a really, really strong bond. Like, those two talk lacrosse 24/7. They break down film together. Like, they've been at it since the jump, man. Like, they're connected at the hip in terms of their lacrosse brains, their love for each other. Like, make that guy sweat. I think the more you'll get.
My next question was going to be something you just answered. Would you rather have this year's draft pick or next year's number 1 draft pick? I will ask you, looking ahead to next year's draft, who do you have as the number 1 on your big board?
You know, that's tough. I think my number 1 player overall is Sean Light. Like, he's the one guy that I would bet on, just being that guy. Like, Sean Light would be number 1. And there's a slew of other guys that are going to be in the mix. Like, Bobby Van Buren's going to be an amazing pro. I mean, you guys played with him. Awesome. That guy is, and like, I feel like Bobby Van Buren's body has changed over the years. Like that dude is a unit now, man. Like, he's going to recover from the injury. He's going to be smarter than he's ever been as a player. Like, he's soaking this all in. I'm sure he's like pseudo coaching this year, right? Is he on the sideline? Yes. Probably nonstop.
Yeah, basically. He's got the clipboard.
I'm betting on that guy. Not to mention his character. Unless I've been fooled, I've spent some time with him, not like you guys. Unless I'm fooled, his character is like flawless too, isn't it?
Paul, he's the guy who's the hardest worker. Talk about a kid who loves the game of lacrosse. Like, he's the type of kid who like would play lacrosse 24/7 if he could, like all day and night. Like, he was always the kid. Pre-practice work, then we'd have practice, and he's still out there an hour after practice. You're like, how is this guy still doing stuff? Guys are going home. He's still at the facility.
Yeah, totally. And to have him and Sean Light in the same draft is nice. Crazy. Like, this, like you could argue this is the defensive version. When you have Van Buren and Light, this is the defensive version of Schellenberger and O'Neill, in my mind.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think I'm over exaggerating on that either.
Carc, you're talking about how loaded. How loaded 2027 is. What do you think of the Dylan Ward trade? Would you have done that if you were Joe Spallina? He spent, a third rounder, but a third rounder in 2027 for Dylan Ward.
I think in order to feel comfortable about winning now, I think you have to. Like, they've had some up and down goalie play. You know, Dylan Ward, though, like, what are your expectations of Dylan Ward? Dylan Ward 5 years ago was like, you know, he was this larger than life, big game goalie, right? Like, whether it was international play with Team Canada, playing in championships professionally, the last couple years, he hasn't been at that level. You know, like, the reality is he's played, you know, musical goalie chairs with DeLuca, right? Like, it's just, it hasn't been at that level. But I think the Water Dogs feel comfortable enough with DeLuca. And I think the Redwoods are at a situation where they just feel like they need another option at goalie based on, you know, the performance of the last season. You know, and I think Chase is a good goalie. I really do. But I think they want options, right? Because I don't think they've had the options if something doesn't go the way they want it to. Where these other teams have, like the Water Dogs, like when DeLuca wasn't playing well, like Bill Tierney could go to Ward quick. If Ward's not playing well, you're going to DeLuca. I don't think the Redwoods had that option, and now they will.
Paul, I kind of want to know who your under the radar guy in this draft is. Who you think is going to be like all pro type player, pro for years to come? That's going to go in like that 3rd to 4th / like even undrafted round, like late round guy who you think this kid's a pro.
Look, I think when you ask that question, it's really hard to think of like a 3rd or 4th round guy that will be like an all pro, right? Yeah. Like, that's like, you're seeing dead people, right? And if you're able to like confidently say that, but I think there are some guys, like, if you told me, like, the way that the draft works, like TJ Malone, I said it on draft night, like, that's this. Yeah, that's the steal of the draft. Like, that one didn't make sense to me. Like, if you were going to tell me, like, a TJ Malone type level player is dropped into the third round, like, TJ Malone, correct me if I'm wrong, he was back-to-back Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year.
You're correct, yeah.
Like, he went against the top guys in the country every single week, and he performed and delivered. Like, how did he slip? It's not like he has a character issue. I heard he's a great guy. Like, so to me, that one was nuts. I think there are some guys in this draft that in the right systems can do really well. Like, I think Cullen Brown's a guy. Like, I don't know what his commitment to lacrosse is after college. I don't know. Like, I'm big on this, and I'm not saying Cullen Brown's going to Wall Street. I have no clue. Like, I haven't dug that deep. I'm really hesitant when it comes to a pro lacrosse player that is working like a desk job in New York City. It could work for a year, it could work for 2, but eventually it catches up to you. You have to be lacrosse 365 days physically and mentally to play in that league. That league is not for the weak. And eventually it will catch up to you because all those sneaking in the workouts at 5 a.m. and taking the last flight on Friday, it catches up to you. The only guy in modern time that I feel like mastered it for like a decade was Mike Earhart. Like, Mike Earhart was working New York City jobs while being the best of the best for a decade. I don't know if there's been another guy that's been able to pull that off. So, like, I want to know what those guys are doing professionally after. That's why, like, when Silas Richmond tells me he is all lacrosse, no plan B, that, to me, is very, very powerful because he's going to do whatever he can to earn a living playing lacrosse because he's passionate about it, because he loves it. Like, that is his focus. That's his tunnel vision. Having conversations like Collison from Hopkins, I heard he's all in on lacrosse. Like, that guy's talented enough. Collison has been the major dodging force of Johns Hopkins for the last 4 years. And now this year has been really tough for him because there's not a lot of other options dodging. If you watch tape, like, his numbers might be down some games. They slide to him when he comes off the bus. Like, I was watching that Rutgers game a few weeks ago. They want the ball out of his stick immediately. And it's not like he's getting a heavy dose of the two-man game with another sidekick that he's able to do things. I think he has, like, a lot of pro potential. I think he could be a really good pro. And now the fact that he's all in on lacrosse, from what I'm hearing, like, I'm riding that train a little bit more. Later round guys, you know, I think there's a couple of, like, short stick defensive midfielders. Like, I don't know what you guys say. I think the kid at Ohio State's very, very good.
Blake Island?
Blake Island? Yeah, Island. Yeah. I think Island's very good. The one guy who I love watching play, who I think he could be a good short stick D-midi for years and a higher level one, is Jungerkiss from Rutgers. I think that dude is, like, he likes confrontation. He likes conflict. I was watching the Michigan game, like, a week ago. Did you guys watch that game? Do you watch how he stood that one dude up? That one guy tried to take him to the rack. Like, he reminded me of, like, Danny Logan. You know when Danny Logan, like, engulfs you physically?
Yeah.
He reminded me. I think Jungerkiss is a later, really, really good guy. That's where I feel like you can bet more, Hoagie, on your original question. Later round guys, like short stick D-midi type guys, you feel more comfortable as later round performing at a super high level, because the really, really skilled guys and the ones who have produced at such a high level, unless they're TJ Malone slipping for some crazy reason, like, especially in this draft, this is a draft. It's not like years past. Like, years past, I'd have way more conviction answering that question. There's a massive drop after, like, the top 6 or 7 offensive guys. It drops. It drops.
What do you think of Ryan Croddick as a pro, Carc? He's been heating up. He saw that crazy save the other day.
He's the only goalie. He's the only draft-eligible goalie senior that I think will actually get drafted, that has a chance.
I'm big on
senior
Richard
goalie.
Yeah. Richard Deli's eligible, right?
No, he's coming back. He has another year.
He is? Okay. Oh, wow. Good for him.
Yeah.
My
And McCool has
question
another year. Jimmy McCool has another year. Obviously,
Wow.
Big Tasty does. So Croddick's the only guy that I feel like is made to withstand that pressure. And the good thing that he has going for him is, like, his defense is a little bit better this year. that defense at Princeton has not been their strong suit. He's been tested with a lot of rubber. Like, and he's answered the bell. Like, look what he did this year when he played Syracuse, North Carolina, back-to-back in 48 hours. Like, he 25 saves one game he had like 17. Like, he's used to a lot of rubber. That's a big thing for a goalie. Like, you never want to play in front of a defense that's not consistent. The beauty of that is if you do, like, you're kind of ready for the PLL a little bit more.
Hoagie was asking about some sleepers in the draft. I think everyone remembers last year Chris Cav slipping out of the first round.
Which I thought was crazy. I said that Insanity. On draft night too. I had him as my number two in the big board. When he slipped, I thought that was nuts. Like, that's another situation. That kind of like TJ Malone. Yeah. Chris Cavanaugh's playing in the ACC, and this is the craziest thing to me. Everyone's like, oh, he's got to play with his brother Pat. All he did when Pat graduated was become the ACC Offensive Player of the Year. So he proved it with his sidekick. He proved it without his sidekick, and people still questioned it. Like, how does he drop that far? That was crazy to me.
Could you see anyone doing that? He's not, but could you see like someone like a Joey Spallina slipping out of the first round somehow?
No. There's no Shedeur Sanders here. No, like I don't see it because like I actually think there's a drop. Like when you think of like the top offensive players, you know, you have Spallina, you have Richmond, you have Mikey Weishauer, okay. Yeah. You have I think Chad Palumbo has to be in that conversation too, skill wise. I think he's a super skilled guy. Collison is the other guy. Like after that group, the next offensive guys, I think Spanos is in that mix. Leo Johnson, Michael Leo are in that mix. There's real shortage of midfielders in this. So like I think there's a situation where like I would be surprised if Michael Leo doesn't get drafted in the first 2 rounds because of how few midfielders we have in this draft.
I love Leo's projection as a pro. Going to Hoagie's question really quick, I want to hear your take on this. It's a Garden City guy. I'm from Garden City, so I've always had my eye on him. One of the late round picks that I think could end up being an all-star is Brendan Staub, the Cornell defenseman, just given how he could play LSM and defense, his size, and he's a goal scorer. So like he's going to be an immediate 2-point threat in the PLL.
Yeah,
he's one that I didn't think about.
That's a great point because all the other guys. If you look at like the defenseman, although Billy Dwan brings the ball up, like Billy Dwan's not an LSM. He's a close defender who's really good in transition. Like he trails breaks better than like any guy, right? Like he's always in that mix. He's incredible there. He's a close guy, right? Alex Ross is a close guy. All these guys are either close or LSM. Will Donovan is not a close guy. He's an LSM guy. The 2 guys in this draft that I think you have to put high value on, even more than maybe what their projections are, is Staub and Colin Brown because of the fact that they could play both. Those are the 2 guys in this draft that I think could flex more than anyone. And teams want flex guys. They want flex guys because that gives like so much flexibility in terms of the lineup. Like, okay, we're only going to dress like maybe 3 close guys because my second pole, and then you can be creative with shorties week by week. Like. And Staub gives you that flexibility, and Colin Brown gives you that flexibility more than any of the other guys in the draft.
Okay, I like that. You know, from my perspective, your first through the X with the women's player was Izzy Skane 2 years ago. Yeah. This year, you obviously picked Chloe Humphrey, which is coming out. What's that out with your time with her that we'll obviously see on air?
Her love for the game, you know, comfortable being like a lax rat. A lot like Charlotte North, too, because I spent a lot of time with Charlotte doing some content and just being around her and her being a great friend. Like, just being comfortable being a lax rat. Like, that's hard for any guy and any girl who's playing the game of lacrosse, whether you're, you know, a youth, in middle school, high school, college. Like, a lot of times, like, you think of a lax rat, like, oh, they care too much, right? Like, there's no such thing in my mind of caring about a sport that you love too much. I think Chloe has that. I think Charlotte has it. Also, how competitive she is. Like, she's competitive. Like, when I'm on the field with her, if she's missing a shot, like, she's mad. Like, she's not happy about it. This isn't like, Like there's nothing fake about her competitive nature. Also her creativity. Like I think we're witnessing with Chloe Humphrey one of the greatest off-ball players in lacrosse history, like male or female. If you watch Chloe Humphrey, she's not really even dodging that much. Like watch a game. She is an absolute Ginsu knife off ball. Like she's unbelievable, and you can't coach that. You can't teach that. It's like a sixth sense type thing of timing your cut with ball rotation. It's deception in your body language. I just think like if you're a young boy or young girl that wants to be great off ball, she's phenomenal off ball. Like how her instincts take over, and I just think she's a great person too, and like her team loves her, and that's like a common theme this year. Not that I've done through X's with people where like the teammates hated the person, but like there's like love. Like it's and look, when you're as good as Chloe Humphrey, there's like a massive jealousy factor potentially, right? Like I played with Casey Powell, and I love Casey. Casey was my roommate, but like I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like it gets exhausting every time you go on the road and all the kids just want to speak to Casey. Like you come out of the locker room and they're like, "Hey, where's Casey?" Like, you know, I just scored 4 goals. You don't want to talk to me.
That's us with Mitch on this pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everyone's
Mitch's
lying.
cameraman.
Everyone's lying if, you know, there's not some envy there, right? Like that's just, it's nature. Like it's just the way, it's human nature. That's the way it works. And I think her team really loves her, just the way we really loved Casey. Yeah, we would have loved a little bit more of the spotlight and the shine, but like because of how great of a teammate he was and how selfless he was on the field, we look past that. And I feel like there's something to be said about Chloe, because Chloe's doing things like that will never be done in the sport or haven't been done. Like it's hard to think of her not being a 4-time Tewaaraton winner, right? That's never been done in the men's or the women's game. I mean, she's better than last year, and she won it as a freshman. And the reality is that team is built to win for 3 more years. Like the best players on that team are sophomores. Chloe and Addison Patilla and the Eliza Osborne girl, Kate Levy, Jenny Levy's daughter. Like they're all sophomores. Like they might go on this historic run that's never been seen in our sport. Like it's kind of crazy in the modern era. Like no one's reeled off 4 in a row. You know how hard it is to win 3?
When I was down there in the fall, we did a full doc on the team, and I felt the same thing. That was the biggest thing I took away, was just like there was no like, and I thought I would see a little bit more with girls just having the jealousy aspect. I didn't feel any of it.
No.
And Chloe didn't give off any vibes that like, you know, she was the stuff, right? She was just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Coach had her just like everybody else in the line or in the back of a line and stuff like that. So I thought my experience there was similar to you. And you mentioned it a little bit earlier with your daughter, Payla, on the track to obviously go through and have a great career in high school, but ultimately the recruiting process for you guys is this summer, September 1st. Yeah. Talk to us about how you are approaching that with your pedigree, with you still being in the space, having all these connections. How are you training her with what's to come on 9-1?
You know, it's been so easy. I'm just being honest. I'm honest. It's been so easy with my place in the sport to always give people advice when it's not your own kid. Do you know what I mean? But when, you know, this is a kid that, you know, you changed her diaper and like you've been through every step of the way with her. There's like that, there's emotional attachment that you have. Like she's my daughter, but she's also like one of my best friends. And we talk about lax rats. Like she's a hardcore lax rat. Like we watch games together. We play every day. Like we have floodlights in the backyard. Before I got on the show with you guys, like we were out there today. Like it's lacrosse is a place where we like spend so much time together, but it's also like it's our happy place. When it comes to recruiting, the one thing I am proud of, like the way that I've parented her in lacrosse, I've always felt like the skill development and spending time and teaching her the game was always the most important thing. She didn't play full-time travel lacrosse until 8th grade. She played summer lacrosse, but we never played fall travel. We didn't do any of the winter travel. Like we kept travel lacrosse to just the summer till 8th grade. In terms of events, she's on a team right now. She plays on prime time in New York, Connecticut area, and it's a great team, and they do a lot of awesome skill development. So she plays on that team in the summertime, and I told her you could pick 2 other events to go to, because I've seen so many kids, and this is the same advice I've told parents in the boys space. If you go to 10, 15 events, you're going to be exhausted when you go to them. You wouldn't race a horse every day, right? A horse would be tired. A horse would be fatigued mentally, physically. So like for me, as much as I don't want to travel up and down the Jersey Turnpike and stay at a Comfort Inn, I also don't want to burn her out, right? So like it works both ways. So I think understanding the journey and less is more is something that I've always talked about, and I've messed up on a lot of things as a parent. But I could confidently say, like, I've never overplayed her. I've always said that our relationship and what we do with the sticks will take precedent over anything that she can do outside, because I feel like that connection to the sport, the stick, your family embraces like the love of the game, but also it allows you to really take your creativity to another game. But I think it's tough. Like, how am I going to handle recruiting? Well, that's going to be on the fly, because I've never had a kid that's gone through recruiting before. But I think for her, it's going to be ultimately her decision. My wife and my daughter are very similar. They're different than me. Like I have like a little bit of like a crazy Italian where I just like, I know I like something, I just do it, right? Like I'm making this decision, done. They kick tires over everything. So I'm going to let these two just probably take the journey a little bit more than me and kick the tires and see where it goes. But, I say this to all the kids too, and I'm going to tell my own daughter this. The sport of lacrosse, like, gifts us relationships more than anything. And to me, whether you guys played at Ohio State, whether you played at Syracuse, you have a built-in fraternity for life. And Division III players have that. That's why, like, I understand when the D3 posse gets all over me because I said don't give the ball to Cross Ferreira. Like, I actually love that, because that tells me, like, people believe in him. People believe in him. He was on a team. He has his boys. And, like, people would chirp me when, like, I said some of those D middies a couple years ago for the Archers shouldn't have gone so high.
Oh,
like,
my God, yeah.
Teammates are on me. I'm okay with that, because, like, those guys live in the locker room together, and they're part of a journey together. So, like, my daughter, regardless of what level or where she goes, like, she's going to be gifted with that. Like, you guys have your Ohio State boys for life, and they'll get over the fact one day, like, if you don't pick them, or because you shared so many times in the locker rooms together, and they trusted you, and you confided in them, and, like, you've won. You won the game. Whether you go to X, Y, or Z school, and if you win the championship, yes, that's great. But at the end of the day, like, I go back to Syracuse to call a game, and I meet a couple of my buddies afterwards, and, the times change, right? Like, 10 years ago, we had different conversations. I'm not going to tell you this teammate's name. I was eating a burger with him last night, and I'm like, what's the week look like for you? He told me that he's sitting down with his wife. He said this with a straight face. I'm like, holy crap, we're getting old. Mapping out next week's shopping list, and we're going to Wegmans, and we're gonna spend time. And he found this app where every aisle that he goes on, based on his shopping list, they tell you where the ingredients or the products are. Like, times change, but guess what? That guy is someone that I love to pieces. And as quirky as that conversation was, like, we developed a relationship over years where I'm not like, get me away from this guy. I kind of just love his quirkiness. So whatever journey she goes through, whatever team she picks, she'll have a relationship in 20, 30 years like I had with that one teammate who I won't tell you who it is.
I like that. I like that. That would be me. I hope I don't get that old. But we're going to finish out here, Carc, on a segment we call Ball Knower of the Week. Fun little twist. We're going to see who knows the most ball on this podcast. We do this. We toss them out some awards and ultimately see who is the biggest ball knower on this show. I like that. Corey, what is the question for this week?
Well, first, let me go over the standings, updated standings.
Yes.
So we got a three-way tie in first. Kev, Dukes, and Mitch all at 2. And then we got Hoagie finally on the board with 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Massive. So Corey has the question. None of the other co-hosts and myself know.
Am I allowed to answer or no?
Yeah,
you're
in,
in.
Carc.
You're in the ring.
You're in.
And you're on the leaderboard all year.
Yeah.
If you get it right.
Auto first place if you get it, Carc.
Wait, there's no buzzer or anything. What do I do?
No, you just got to say it. Shout it out.
Shout it.
If you have the answer, shout it out. Yeah.
All right.
Paul Rabel.
Today's ball knower. On Saturday, Syracuse welcomed John Desco into its Ring of Honor, including the Lost Trophy 1990 title. How many national
11.
championships?
11.
Bingo, Carc.
Carc, I don't know if I'm counting that. Pre-show call, we're like, let's not make this P. Carc or Syracuse related. Hey, clap it up for P. Carc. Comes on the show, runs the show, gets it right, and he's on the leaderboards until the season ends. I like that. Well, Corey also,
thanks for
he's
your
been
legend.
producing the show for how many years now? 2?
2 years.
2 years now. His last
You guys do a
episode
great
comes to an
job.
end.
You do a great job.
Clap it up for
Clap it up for
Thank you.
Corey.
Appreciate you. And clap it up
Thanks,
for
Corey.
P. Carc.
Carc, legend.
You guys do a phenomenal job. Keep pushing. Who cares what the haters are gonna say? They're always gonna be giving you the jabs. The reality is, you all love the game.
Yep.
I'm very, very grateful for people that have passion like you, and you're taking chances and you're doing things that haven't been done before. So don't stop now.
Thanks, Carl.
Bingo.
Thank you.
Duke Cannon makes high-quality grooming goods that keep you dialed in. At work, at the gym, at the field, whether you're grinding through the day or running to your late-night lacrosse league, their products are built to keep up. Use code PLL2026 at DukeCannon.com for 15% off your order. Or find Duke Cannon grooming goods at Target, Walmart, or even on Amazon. On Tuesday night, Siena and Albany will face off in their larger-than-life game to honor the life and legacy of Liam Gleason, the former Siena head coach who tragically passed away in December. This is an important and meaningful moment for the lacrosse community. Kev, you sat down with Albany head coach Scott Marr, who coached Liam Gleason at Albany, to talk about Gleason and what this game means for both of these teams.
Yeah, it was a great interview. Huge thank you to Albany and to Coach Marr for sitting down with us. Honestly, I heard Duke say earlier that he became a Silas Richmond fan. You're going to become a bigger Silas Richmond fan after this interview. You're going to become a big Albany and Siena rivalry fan. And I'm rooting for this team and both of those teams to do big things, win their conferences, maybe meet again in the NCAA opening round. But I hope you all enjoy this interview. Scott Marr is in his 26th season as head coach of the UAlbany Great Danes. The Yorktown, New York native won a national championship as a player with Johns Hopkins in 1987 and is a 7-time America East Coach of the Year. Marr has coached UAlbany to 11 conference titles and 12 appearances in the NCAA tournament, while also unleashing some of the greatest offensive players college lacrosse has ever seen. In this interview, Coach Marr discusses his goals for the remainder of the 2020 Richmond and the larger-than-life game against Siena, which will honor the life and legacy of late Siena head coach Liam Gleason. And with that, here's our full interview with Coach Scott Marr. Thank you for making the time for us today, but I want to ask you some big picture questions about your team, and then we could talk about the larger-than-life game that's coming up on Tuesday. But starting with your team this year, in the past couple of years, you've won the America East the past 2 years and made the NCAA tournament. What were the expectations coming into the 2026 season, and what are your goals the rest of the way?
Well, expectations haven't changed since 2001 when I first got here, to be honest with you. Our expectation always is to win the America East. So we joined the America East in 2002, actually. So, and in that year, actually, we went 6-0 in the regular season and hosted the finals, but lost to Stony Brook. But our goal every year is to capture the America East tournament, and give ourselves an opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament. So that hasn't changed. Again, every team's different. Obviously, year to year is different. So you have new freshmen, new seniors, that type of stuff. So it has to be reiterated at the beginning of the year, but it's pretty known that is our goal every year. We're on a good path right now for it to at least we're in the tournament, so we gave ourselves a chance to be in the tournament. Now we have to obviously play 2 games at the end of the season to take the bid. So we're pretty excited about that, though.
I think it's a fun program to follow and watch every year. But UAlbany, you guys battled with some really good teams earlier in the season: Cornell, Penn, Georgetown. Does your team benefit from scheduling teams like that, those tough games? And how do you keep your team focused on the goal when the win-loss record isn't going in your favor early in the year?
Yeah, it is sometimes a tough thing to do when you lose a couple games early. But I do think we were very competitive in those games. Obviously, Cornell was a 1-goal game. The Penn game was close too. I think in those early games, we really didn't play complete games. We had about a 10-minute to 12-minute lapse in our Penn game in the second quarter. We gave up 6 goals. The UMass third quarter, same thing. Again, quality teams. Obviously, Georgetown, same thing. Third quarter was a tough one for us, but again, just having that experience of playing teams at that level, playing at Cornell, playing at Penn, playing at Georgetown, the speed at which they play, the athleticism that they have. I think Georgetown is one of the best teams that we've played in the last couple of years. Just so athletic and just so well coached. I think Kevin does an unbelievable job with his team. Just a good, fun game to play, actually very clean and just a hard-fought game. But I think we've played actually really well. And again, our 4 losses are to teams. 3 of them are still in the top 20. UMass just had a huge win last week against St. Joe's. So, I think again we're on a 4-game winning streak right now, and we're playing good lacrosse. And I think we were doing that early in the season also. The results weren't there, but I think the guys feel that and they see it. And they also understand the process of that we are playing those games in preparation for hopefully playing one of those teams in the NCAA tournament like we have the last couple of years.
That's right. The Cornell game last year and Notre Dame, you guys kind of had Notre Dame on the ropes at halftime. So I'm excited to see obviously what happens the rest of America East play, but then going forward, what you guys could potentially do in the NCAA tournament. I'm rooting for you guys to have a little bit of a breakthrough. But one player who's caught my eye, you guys have so many talented players, but one guy who's caught my eye the last few years is Silas Richmond, and he's a top prospect going into the upcoming PLL draft. And I'm curious, from your perspective, what makes him so special?
Well, I think what makes Silas so special right now is the growth he's shown over the 4 years he's been here. Really came in as a shooter, and was just more of an off-ball guy, and really just was our finishing right-hander. Inside a lot, didn't carry the ball a ton, but his growth over the 4 years. Coach Thompson pulled him aside early in his career and tried to explain to him that just scoring goals wasn't who he had to be, because he struggled sometimes if he didn't score early in games. He'd get frustrated. So we talked to him about riding, about getting ground balls, setting picks, being a good off-ball player. And then we taught him how to carry the ball, and we started to give him more responsibility carrying the ball. Obviously, a nasty box player. Silas has a chance of being the number 1 overall pick in the NLL this coming year. He's definitely going to be top 5. But he just has a really good knack of understanding now pressure and how to dodge. So he's really made himself into a complete player, and he's really put in the work for that. And then again, all the guys that we've had that have eventually made it to the pros, the number one thing that they have is their enthusiasm to play lacrosse. The kid absolutely loves lacrosse. He lives and dies. He brings his stick everywhere. He brings it to lunch. He brings it to dinner. He sleeps with that darn thing in his bed probably. He just loves lacrosse. So he's constantly watching, learning, and wants to be better every day. And he's very, very coachable, even into his senior year this year. We still have moments where we have to talk to him about controlling the ball and controlling the pace of play. So, as a star player, you have to learn how to kind of manage the team, and his end of the field is the offense. So over time, he's really learned how to manage the game in a sense for us on the field. And again, his growth has just been really exponential compared to some of the other guys. Obviously, like Lyle came in and Fieldsy came in and DeHoga. Those guys were really, really just right off the rip where, they made their impact right away, where Silas kind of grew into this role a little bit more. And I think he still has some room to grow. His body's still growing. He's up to 220 pounds now. He's 6'4". So I think that frame really helps him when it comes to dodging and again, his leverage to shoot. But again, I think he's, over the 20, I've been coaching for 35 years. He's probably the biggest lax rat that I've ever coached, and also probably one of the nicest kids I've ever coached. And just really looking forward to him finishing out his senior year, on a positive note. And then obviously the draft is next Tuesday. And we've talked a lot about the draft, and it doesn't matter what number you go or what team you go to. It's just, he's just so excited for the opportunity to play professional lacrosse. It's been a dream of his whole life, and we're super excited for him to do that.
Yeah, he is a really fun and exciting player, and your program has produced so many fun and exciting players. You named a few of them there, and I really do believe that Silas is the latest in that line, in that lineage. So I'm super pumped to see what's next for him. I do want to turn the page to the game next Tuesday, the larger-than-life game honoring the life and legacy of Liam Gleason. I unfortunately never had the opportunity to meet Coach Gleason. So how would you describe him to someone like me?
I would say that Liam, again, we're labeling this the larger than life game because Liam just had an unbelievable enthusiasm for life. And that's evident by him being an organ donor, and it's Organ Donor Awareness Month. But Liam, I would say that when you met Liam and you met him for the first time, he would give you attention like you were his best friend. And you would walk away from that conversation feeling better about yourself because he really paid 100% attention to what you were saying to him. And he made you feel good, and again, you go to recruiting events and maybe, as he started to get older and more visible, a head coach, a younger coach, maybe breaking into the circuit, sitting on the sidelines by himself, Liam might go over and sit down next to him and kind of befriend him in a sense and, give him some advice, but and make him feel really good about being a coach and talk to him. So he just had a really good way of connecting to people. He just had a certain energy to him. And again, just so happy-go-lucky in a sense with his life, and again, just to us a wonderful friend. Obviously, for me, he was a player, and then he coached with me, and then we ran a club team in the summertime for 15 years together. His best friend is sitting 5 feet from me here in the office, Mary Thompson, and again, just a connection to our program and just to us as people. Again, he's larger than life, and that's what we're trying to build this as. And Tuesday is really going to be a celebration of Liam's life. And we have a really nice thing. We're planting a tree. His nickname was the tree. Obviously, the connection to the tree to the game with our wooden stick and traditional sticks from the Haudenosaunee. So, it's really going to be a pretty special night. We have a nice tribute, video tribute. His family, his mom and dad, Sue and Kevin, and his brother Brendan, who played for me also, is going to be here in attendance. Obviously, his wife, Jacqueline, and the 3 kids will be here as well. So really just looking forward to a great celebration of Liam's life and the impact that he's had on both of our programs here in the Capital Region.
Yeah, I want to actually talk about that next.
Mm-hmm.
You've been so entrenched in that region as a guy who's been the coach at UAlbany for over 25 years, but Liam kind of was following a similar path. Over the past 20 years, you got to see him rise from a player at UAlbany to an assistant on your coaching staff and ultimately to the head coach at Siena. So describe his impact specifically on the lacrosse community in the Capital Region.
Well, again, he came here as a player in 2005, played for us for 2 years, played on our 2007 team, which was a quarterfinalist, and was an impact player for us. Again, his brother Brendan was 3 years younger, so they had a chance to play together. But again, like when you're talking about his personality and stuff and being in the region and dealing with, we've done how many clinics and youth programs and all that kind of stuff. So he was really entrenched in the community, and his kids are young. Who are in school now is, in the 4th grade and the 2nd grade with his 2 oldest. So, he's been around youth sports and stuff like that. But just again, that impact that he had on people was because he took an interest in everything that we did. He was always present in the moment when he's with people. But again, for Liam in 2007, same with Coach Thompson, went on to become coaches. Coach Thompson coached at the Hill Academy. Liam went to Siena with Coach Brecht right away. Liam, again, kind of started what we call the Albany Mafia. He was kind of the head of our mafia. We have a huge amount of guys coaching in Division I and 2 and 3 right now. And, Liam was kind of the one who started that trend. So, again, when we were on the road, anytime we're recruiting, you could see probably 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Albany guys together. And of course, the big guy was always in the center of a picture, always in the center of attention. And, we take guys out for dinner and stuff like that. And again, Liam was just always, in a sense, the life of everything that we did off the field. So, again, just a wonderful person. And it's hard to keep saying that, but he just, like I said, he was a genuine person, and he really, like I said, made you feel special when you were around him. And it was just, again, it's a tough loss for our community, obviously, and for us as people who knew him really well. It's hard for us right now. It's just been a challenge this whole year, just kind of just getting through it and obviously getting his family through some things and getting them back on track and the kids. So again, they've had a lot of support. Again, our lacrosse community was unbelievable when Liam passed. His service with, 3,000 people were at the service and the GoFundMe page, and just the overwhelming number of text messages and phone calls and emails that I got personally, just saying how sorry they were and just how wonderful Liam was. Again, he reached so many people. That's the point, is that he was able to reach so many people because he wasn't afraid to talk to people. He was like I said, eager to talk to people. He was eager to interact with people. So that's a trait that not everybody has.
Siena's kind of been playing really well this year. I'm curious if you've reached out to and had any conversations with Coach Cox and what your relationship is like with him.
Yeah, well, Timmy played for me also from 12 to 15, and then coached with us for a year with Coach Gleason here at Albany, and then went on to Robert Morris, and eventually over with Coach Gleason at Siena. But yeah, I speak to Timmy quite regularly. We text probably more than we speak, but we do get on the phone every once in a while. I'm actually in a group chat with the Siena seniors. I've been since the funeral. So I kind of just text them, prior to every game and after every game, congratulating them on their win or just giving them a message of hope for the next game, if they had lost. But yeah, it's been interesting, again, for me as a mentor to Timmy, to watch him kind of take on this role now. And it's tough. You talk about a tough position to take over for one of your good friends who passed away, and now you have to kind of carry on his legacy, but also kind of make your own mark as a head coach. And Timmy was certainly ready for the challenge. He's 30 years old. He's been coaching for 10 years, and he's doing an unbelievable job. And in fact, I think at this point, when you're talking about Coach of the Year, I know it typically goes to the coach who wins a national championship, but I think Timmy's winning a national championship every day with what he's doing with his team and being able to get them to focus on playing. And, we knew that BU game was going to be tough. That first moment of silence, we talked about that, on the way out to the game. I was on the phone with them and we did talk about how hard it was going to be for that first moment of silence. And it was difficult for them. And they struggled a little bit in that BU game, but since that BU game, they've really been on a tear. And, it's unfortunate that Patrick Radomski got hurt last week. He was having an unbelievable season and just a really, really sweet young man. But again, Timmy's done an unbelievable job with getting that team focused and prepared every week to play. And they're playing at a really high level. So again, our game last year was 11-9. It was a really good game. And we're certainly anticipating that kind of a game on Tuesday night.
Speaking of the game on Tuesday night, I think that UAlbany has one of the most underrated environments. The game last year against Yale, crazy crowd there. I'm curious what kind of turnout you're expecting for the game.
Well, our lower section of the stadium is almost sold out right now, so we're probably expecting anywhere between 5,000 and 7,000 people. To be honest with you, I think walk up will be great. It's supposed to be 75 degrees. Which is a far cry from the 10 degrees on March the 17th when the game was originally signed. But I agree with you with the underrated place to play. I think outside of a place about 2 hours west of us here that has an indoor facility, this is probably the coolest place to play in the country. And I mean that. I've been around the game a long, long time. I coach at Maryland. I've played in every ACC building. I've played in Big Ten buildings. This place has a really cool vibe to it. It has an unbelievable support system from our community. Before COVID had come, again, and things have changed since then. But, we've always been kind of in the top 5 in attendance. But our administration does an unbelievable job of putting on a great show for our fans, and it's just, again, it's a really neat stadium. I think it's the perfect size for a lacrosse stadium right now. And the fact, again, like you said, that Yale game, when we play Yale on a Friday, Saturday night, we're looking at 6,000 people, and it's just a great environment. Like I said, our fans just don't sit on their hands and clap for goals. They get into clearing the ball and winning the face-off and making a save. So they engage in our game, and it's like I said, Tuesday's game with Siena again will be an electric environment. So we're looking forward to that.
So yeah, that game, this is my final question for you. UAlbany and Siena are separated by less than 10 miles, but over the past 10 years, the two programs have really only met a couple of times. Right. I know this year's larger than life game will be a special celebration, but can we count on this meeting as a yearly celebration moving forward?
Absolutely, yeah. We had decided that Liam and I had decided that before Liam passed that we were going to start playing on a regular basis. Actually, Liam was pretty instrumental in us getting. In fact, he was the one who pushed for the rule to get us to play more games in the fall and then more games in the spring. So it did open up our schedule a little bit. Part of the reasons why we hadn't played in the past was just scheduling conflicts, really. But we did decide before he passed that we were going to play every year. So, but now obviously the game takes on a whole new meaning for us, and obviously celebrating Liam and remembering him every year. So we're going to kind of come up with. We haven't come up with what we're going to kind of present to each team here, but we're going to probably have an MVP on both sides of each team. We'll have someone who'll be a player of the game. Again, prior to the game, we're planting a tree here on campus for Liam, and we're going to have a nice plaque outside of underneath the tree, just describing Liam's life and his impact on our area here in the Capital Region. But yeah, the game itself will be played every year, and it will be played for Liam every year.
I know I just said last question, but really last question this
time.
How special was it to get that NCAA opening round game last year against Siena? Like, considering you guys hadn't played a lot and the way things have gone since then, how special of a memory was that to get those pictures together?
Yeah, kind of gave me some chills. It was wild. We on our championship day last year, we were playing at Bryant, and Siena was playing about an hour before us. So their game was going to finish before ours. And I'll be honest with you, we won and we celebrated. I got the water poured on top of my head and all that stuff, the Gatorade plunge. And the first thing I did, actually, I ran over to my bag and grabbed my phone to see if they had won, and they did. And we knew right away that if they had won and we had won, we were going to play. So again, it just kind of, it turned out to be a really special night now, thinking obviously with Liam passing. But that night was really special. Again, you saw the crowd, you saw the energy, and it just showed what again, the Capital Region is really a lacrosse region. You know what I mean? We really have taken over the region as far as the sport is concerned, and other sports in the area. And to have two Division I teams make the playoffs at the same time and then have to play each other. And obviously Siena, we've had the rivalry in the basketball arena, but now that again, this will really pick up with us playing each year in the lacrosse side. So we're super excited about that. But it was a really cool thing for, again, the Liam's staff last year was Timmy Cox, Derek Eccles, who played for me as well. And then my staff is 2 out of my 3 coaches are Albany alums also. So it was really cool to have us all in the same field competing against each other.
Coach, thank you so much. You're not the only one who's excited. We're all excited to watch. This celebration is going to be an amazing thing for the lacrosse community, and we're hoping to kind of blow it out a little bit at the Lacrosse Network. So thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate this conversation.
Yeah, Kevin, thanks. Great. Have a great day, man. I appreciate you.